What's up, current and future disc golf addicts? Today I'm going to be taking along on a round at Camp Sekani in Spokane, Washington, slowly making our way back from our Idaho portion of the road trip through eastern Washington and making a stop for some disc golf. Hole 1 a little bit rushed here. We did have a group of 4 or 5 that were wanting to get started, and so I ended up throwing 2 warm-up putts and running out to the course, playing a very blind hole 1 with plenty of bushes in the way. Thought I threw a good shot, but then ended up having to pitch back almost a good 60-70 feet towards the basket and grabbing my par. Hole 2 already getting a little bit of a taste of the elevation that the course has to show, and so not something that I play too often when it comes to the courses in the Netherlands, and then also from the courses that I regularly play in Washington State. Hole 3, we're seeing this early left tree really forcing a right to left shot shape and then coming back towards the basket. One I've especially been struggling with on the forehand, and so one I still want to work on a lot more. But seeing as though it was the right shot shape, I wanted to try to push myself and challenge myself to throw what was correct on the tee, rather than what I am comfortable with. Hole 4 here, leaking my Explorer, touch high. Trying to throw a flex forehand, stall and fall out of the sky. Main target was really just hitting the initial gap on the angle. The rest is fine, and give myself a putt. And unfortunately not converting that. Hole 5. I'm looking at this flex forehand gap down this path. End up hitting something early and kicking just off to the right with my defender. And a long putt, one I want to give a little bit of a half bit on, but just hard to give that height, and ever so slightly downhill too, where psychologically or subconsciously I didn't want to float it too far past. Hole 6 looks a lot further than it does. Seeing the hole, I thought rock 3, throw it really hard, give it an ace run, and I actually end up going a good 20-30 meters long, and having a really long comebacker, and just fading out early before the basket. This one really surprised me how far I actually went with that rock 3, where putter would have been more than enough. Hole 7, I'm trying to aim for this left side gap, drift something left to right. Again, we're working in this new Star Leopard that I have in my bag, but still trying to build some confidence and trust in the disc and the angles that I throw it on. Fortunately, on the pitch up, I made it around the bush, and so had a short putt there. Now we're looking at a short par 4 and trying to bite off a little bit too much here. End up really pulling it right side and struggling, where we're not very far off the tee now, already throwing 3 and wanting to make some forward progress. And we'll get a look at the basket here, but it's precariously situated on a slope. And so fortunate to stay there and not slide too far past it, still leaving myself within putting range. Hole 9, finally a little bit more flat, what I'm used to. With this flex forehand line, trying to throw my Thunderbird, I end up catching some of the left side stuff towards the basket, and thought I ended up hitting closer towards it, but still outside of circle 2 there. So just poke and pray there, and a really unfortunate spit out too. Hole 10, another great birdie opportunity here. Just trying to throw my rock 3 hard and flat down the middle. Getting very lucky down this left side to even give myself a putt. Already sensing a little bit of frustration, trying to make this putt, make something happen, and airball it. But a great comebacker nonetheless, to make sure that I don't get worse than what I've already got. Hole 11, throwing my Thunderbird on a pushing hyzer. Just low and inside of what I was wanting again. So not quite finding my throw and my groove there. Even with that chain out, or tickling of the chains, still a surprisingly long comebacker. Hole 12, I specifically remember, couldn't see the basket. There's an A and B pin position. I gambled left side, and walking up then to my drive, the basket was actually on the right side, which was very unfortunate there. Especially with this metallic colored basket, they were blending in very well into the surroundings, and so 50-50 and I guess wrong. Hole 13, I'm trying to throw my Pyro. Still new-ish to the bag, and so I've been throwing it a ton on backhands, but still needing to learn how exactly it flies on forehands as well. Hoping for something a little bit less stable than what my Justice is. Hole 14, very downhill, trying to throw my Harp flat through the gap, then slowly have it work its way towards the basket to this bowl area where the discs would collect, but end up hitting one of those initial trees there, not even getting myself up there. And a very awkward putt there with that bush and that gap defined by those trees. Just sailing it a little high. Hole 15, again a few options here, trying to throw a flex forehand. And not much I can do from this awkward position with that skinny tree and basket much above where I was standing. Hole 16, really showing some of those mistakes that are coming out when I'm tired, and those mistakes compounding again. And at this point we're really getting desperate just to get onto the putting green and give myself a chance to put an end to the bleeding. Hole 17, long downhill par 4. Thought I ended up hitting this gap perfectly. I don't even fully know which limbs I ended up hitting, and kicked straight down, losing all momentum that it had. And then on the approach, a little bit blind, knowing that it was right, but again, not how far right. And even though I thought I threw a good shot, it was still back edge of circle 2. And very fortunate to actually make that comebacker there with a little bit of a drop off behind the basket. Hole 18, even though we're looking at almost 320 feet, very easy to get the distance, but you have to hit the line and get the height right, and so I end up sailing it long, having this comebacker for birdie. Hole 19, we're looking at very uphill, trying to throw the right shape shot with this forehand flex shot, but again, not something I'm comfortable with. And so that leaves me with a backstop that I can try run the basket on, but not making much happen there, and just a tap in. Hole 20, hit the initial gap, get out into the field. If you can do that, you're setting yourself up good for a birdie look there. And I do that just fine, getting out into open, no more obstacles in the way, just floating up my berg. For a second, thought it even had a chance to go in, but ended up just staying nice and close to it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. Thanks for watching.